Welcome to the Missing Media channel. I am your host, Rabina Rastavan, aka The Realist Astrologer, and I'm back with another celebrity video. This one is about Tina Knowles and Richard Lawson. I'm going to be getting into their individual charts just briefly, but I'm really going to be talking about their synastry because a lot of my viewers already know that there was a scandal in the news. Let me see if I can bring up this news story about this. There was this little scandal they got into because they were being interviewed, and the interviewer asked Richard, or asked Tina if Richard was perfect for her or whatever. But I'm gonna try to find the article real quick because I'd rather just read from it real quick just to give you a synopsis of the situation. I should have been pulled it up. My bad. Just a minute. Anytime now. But as you can see already, Tina Knowles is a hardcore Capricorn with all that Capricorn energy that she's working with. But let me just pull up this article. Let's see. Oh, these are videos. Oh wow, I can't even find an article dealing with this. Let me see. Okay, I think this is it. All right, let me just share this real quick. Okay, so Tina Lawson, Beyonce's mother, shades husband Richard in Black Love viral video. Now, some people say it was shade. Other people are saying she was just keeping it real. In my opinion, I feel like she was just keeping it real, especially if you know about Capricorn. Capricorn keeps it real. They don't sugarcoat things, and especially with her being a 4 in terms of her birth number, she's really not one to sugarcoat things. She could be very matter of fact in her speech, and she could be even cold at times. So that's just who she is. So I don't see her as really throwing shade, but there's an underlying reason as to why she said what she said. So let me just read this real quick. OWN smash hit documentary series Black Love kicked off the mid-season premiere last week with Beyonce and Solange's mother, Tina Lawson, 64, and her husband, Richard Lawson. The couple opened up about how he proposed, and that time a boat ride motivated their decision to take things to the next level. But there's also a moment when Tina destroys her husband's ego, and fans can't get enough of dissecting the shade she served up. Tina explains that she was fearful to take a chance on love, but prayed for the type of man she wanted until the Lord delivered Richard. The Lord. But when she went on to say that Richard isn't perfect, the actor was stunned, and the clever cameraman zoomed in to capture his not so subtle reaction. Some fans are happy that Tina is speaking her truth. Others say she went too far and embarrassed her spouse. Watch the clip below and decide for yourself. Let me see if I can play this clip. I always had bad luck with this, but I'm having a hard time. So they said clip below, but I wonder if it's. Well, I don't got time for all this. All right. Well, if you want to see the clip, just go to YouTube and type in Tina Knowles and Richard Lawson, and you'll be able to see it. But he was also saying, like, they were also had a little disagreement, but I think it was just like in jest about who came on to who first. All right, let me just close that out and go back to the chart. Okay, so Tina Knowles was born January 4th, 1954. That makes her 64 years old. And like I said, being a 4 and a Capricorn, she has the ability to be quite cold and matter of fact. This is someone who doesn't sugarcoat things. Now, her life path is a 24, that breaks down to 6, and that speaks of her giving birth to 2 singers, also her being a hairstylist and seamstress. And it also means that her main challenge in life is relationships, marriage. And as you know, she was married to Matthew Knowles, and she had a pretty toxic relationship with him, as she willfully admits. Now, Richard, let me just show you his chart real quick. Richard was born March 7th, 1947. So the fact that he has a birth number of 7, that's like double Pisces, and he does have strong Pisces energy. He has his sun, Mercury, and Mars in Pisces. Let me get my little flashlight thing, a spotlight thingy. Hold on. Okay. So he has his sun, Mercury, and Mars all in Pisces. So he's a hardcore Pisces. She's a hardcore Capricorn. Now, on a superficial level, those 2 signs work really well together. So that is part of the reason why they ended up getting married, and, you know, they had this attraction for one another. Now, again, with him being that 7, that's like double Pisces, and it explains why he is an actor. But it can also make him quite soft and passive. So men born on March 7th can easily be simps too, where they let their woman run the show and where they kiss their woman's ass. Now, his birth number of 7 does not blend well with Tina's birth number of 4. However, his life path numbers are 31 and 4, which echoes Tina's birth number. So that's another reason why they hooked up. Now, Tina has a wicked Capricorn stellium. Like I said, let me just go back. Look at all this. She has her Venus, Mercury, Moon, Sun, Chiron, and North Node all in Capricorn. Somebody like that can be quite difficult to deal with. So her Venus and Mercury are both at the 8th degree. Again, with that, she's not one to sugarcoat or mince words. She's going to say exactly how she feels and says exactly what she means. That 8th degree also pertains to her businesses. You know, she's been a businesswoman from, you know, early on, and that points to her attraction to businessmen or men that are of some type of status. So just think about her marriage to Matthew Knowles. Even Richard Lawson, he has, you know, he establishes himself somewhat in Hollywood. He would played a few roles in movies. I don't ever remember him playing a leading role though. So he's one of those, you can kind of say, B-list actors. Now, her Uranus is conjoined to her Cancer South Node. So that right there points to her lacking sensitivity. So this goes back to her past life. And that Uranus South Node conjunction also points to her being very light-skinned. And this could have been an issue with her growing up, because Cancer deals with race, Cancer deals with culture, and Uranus can deal with being very light. Uranus is a planet that lightens things. So that could point to her, perhaps her having issues because, you know, growing up, she might have been told that she wasn't black enough. And then, you know, going around white people, they might have been looking at her strange, like, you know, what are you mixed with and stuff like. Most likely she heard that all her life. Now, she is Creole, and she has a French lineage in addition to African, I think Native American as well. So her sun is conjoined to Chiron and the North Node, and it's opposing Uranus and the South Node. And this represents Richard, but also Matthew Knowles, because the sun represents a woman's husband. Also, it's not easy for her to be loving towards a man with all this Capricorn energy. And she chooses men who aren't loving towards her, really. Or I'll say they're not fully available to her, or they're not fully present in the relationship, in the marriage. Now, these men basically use her as a trophy piece, or maybe even a beard, perhaps in Richard's case. Now, Tina's Venus is in sextile with Saturn and Mars in Scorpio. This is a really, these are some nice aspects that can lead to having a lot of money. having lucrative businesses. So that right there is perfect for business partnerships. It's also perfect for a marriage that improves your status. Also, where she's married to an older man. Now, her and Matthew Knowles were around the same age, but Richard Lawson exceeds her in years by 7 years. So he's 7 years older than her. So that points to her getting with an older man. Now, with Matthew, his thing was business, being of a certain status, and all of that type of stuff. So this points to, her having that come up as a result of being married to Matthew Knowles. Now, Richard, let me go to Richard real quick. Richard has Venus in Aquarius opposing Saturn in Leo, and that explains why he got with Tina, since this opposition can produce an opportunistic and gold-digging man. Now, I'm sure he may be, well, I can't say sure. I don't know what his financial situation looks like, but he might have some money, but he damn sure doesn't have as much money as Tina Knowles does. Now, Tina Knowles, going back to her chart, Tina Knowles has a T-square involving Neptune and Libra right here, squaring Uranus and the Cancer South Node, and squaring Chiron and the Capricorn North Node. So this T-square right here, that points to challenges with being in a high-profile marriage, even the marriage that she's in now. And it points to the scandalous marriage with Matthew Knowles, and that ended up where he had a child on her. I think that was the last straw for her. And then it also points to her challenges with motherhood and her family being caught up in all of these scandals as a result of her being in show business and her daughters being in show business. Now, Uranus conjoined to the Cancer South Node points to her having a unique background, a unique lineage, being part of a special group of people. Almost like, because the South Node deals with past lives, and since it's conjoined to Uranus and Cancer, she could come from a line of witches, or I'll just say a line of women that are working with some otherworldly energy, or that are just very much into the occult. And she does have that Creole background, so I'm just saying. And it has been speculated before that Beyonce, with her Scorpio moon, I wouldn't be surprised, is into the occult. She kind of like touched on that with when she put out that Lemonade album. Now, if you really look at Tina Knowles, she does kind of have that alien look, and that points to her being a 4 in terms of birth number, and also that Uranus being conjoined to her Cancer South Node. She just has that look like she could cut you down with her eyes. Like, I wouldn't cross her, I know that, because she could probably put an evil hex, like a wicked hexline. Now, back to Richard Lawson. His Chiron is at 8 degrees of Scorpio. It is squaring his Pluto and Leo. Now, that right there makes me question his sexuality, because that Chiron and Scorpio just alone can point to someone that, got their, some freak stuff going on. Even where, like, because it's at the 8th degree, he might have some, like, sadomasochistic kink to him. And it's squaring Pluto and Leo. So he could, I'm thinking that he probably is bisexual. I mean, come on, he is part of Hollywood, and he's one of them B-list actors. So I'm not surprised if he got scabs on his knees from, serving dudes up in the industry and all that type of stuff. That whole casting couch and all that stuff. I wouldn't put it past him, being that he got Mars in Pisces and it's squaring Jupiter in Scorpio. So that could deal with him even being blackmailed as a result of his sexuality, him not wanting it to get out, somebody like saying, okay, I'm gonna go to the press or whatever. But like, he's not even a major actor like that. So, but still, somebody could have still been, because this is a blackmail aspect. Mars square Jupiter, especially when Jupiter is in Scorpio like that. Now, Lawson's Juno is at 27 degrees Sagittarius, and Juno deals with the main problem in your relationships. So one of his main problems is he may not get enough freedom. He does have Mars and Pisces square Jupiter, but this can also deal with the truth coming out in his relationship. This can also deal with excess, where he's prone to excess. I would say that Richard Lawson probably has some addiction issues. He's probably a big time drinker. Now, Tina's Juno is at the 26th degree of Leo, and that deals with her getting with these powerful men, these men that are like, especially Matthew Knowles, businessman. It points to that 26th degree is like partnership, but partnerships where there's some karmic debt that needs to be repaid. And that also points to where, you know, the whole entertainment industry because of the Leo influence. And she might have issues with getting, you know, sexual gratification in relationships as well. I'm thinking that's true with Matthew because he was cheating all over her, but also with Richard for other reasons. So let me get into their synastry right now. Oh, let me talk about Richard a little bit more before I get into their synastry. Now, Richard, like I said, he got Mars in Pisces and it's squaring Jupiter, but it's also squaring his Gemini North Node and his Sagittarius South Node. Now, with that Sagittarius South Node, he's used to getting his way. He's used to being wanton, reckless, wild, free. But now he has all this Pisces energy in this lifetime. So he is often in bondage to something or someone. So to something that could be drugs and alcohol, to someone that could be a wife, like Tina Knowles, for instance. Also, that Mars in Pisces square in the nose, that points to him not being upfront about who he is and him constantly having to, you know, put up this facade. So it also points to where he has issues with not being able to communicate like he wants to. So you saw that. Matter of fact, you need to go and look at some of the other interviews between Tina, well, involving Tina and Richard, because as you like, you'll see that Richard is afraid to say stuff with Tina right there because she's constantly critiquing him and she's giving him these looks and all types of stuff. So that could deal with his Mars being in square to his Gemini North Node, his Sagittarius South Node. And this stems from a need to be, so in his need to be taken care of, he's sacrificing his ability to really speak his mind and live according to his truth. So he also has Mercury at the 18th degree of Pisces. That's spiritual material conflict. So that points to there's a conflict between his spiritual values and material values. You could look at that 18 as being kind of like gold digging type of degree. Also, it could be a hypersexual degree. So I'm thinking he probably has an addiction to porn as well. His sun at the 16th degree, that reinforces the Pisces theme of addiction. And that also reinforces the fact that he probably had some illnesses as well. He got Venus square Chiron. Venus is in Aquarius. Square in Chiron is Scorpio. This could point to him being in unconventional relationships, or where he's in a relationship where it's kind of artificial in some way. Also, where there's a lot of dysfunction going on. It's a dysfunctional relationship he tends to end up in. And then his Venus in Aquarius is incessantly squared to his Uranus, and that could deal with him being in a relationship again where it's like artificial, it's unconventional. He's not being true to himself while he's in a relationship. So he has some strong bisexual themes in his chart. I'll just say that. Now, getting into their synastry. Here it is right here. Now, I don't know what time either of them were born. So one of the most telling things is all these squares right here. I'm not even going to go into all their aspects because this is all you need to see right here for the most part. Richard's Neptune squaring Tina's Capricorn stellium. So his Neptune is in Libra at the 10th degree. That 10th degree, like I always say, is a free ride degree. And what I forgot to mention about that Sagittarius South Node, that Sagittarius South Node often can cause a person to act like they're above the law, or act like they are, like it's a free-for-all, or like they don't have to really handle any responsibilities. They really don't want to have to work hard. So this is, again, this is coming from, this is a person that's very freedom loving, and they're also prone to excessive behavior, excessive appetite. So his Neptune is squaring her Capricorn stellium, her moon, sun, Mercury, Venus. And that right there basically points to Tina being in this marriage by herself because he checks out. Also, he is inept in some ways, especially like with managing money. He lacks accountability. He is passive aggressive. He often comes across as weak and dependent. Also, he can be a moocher, especially with that Neptune squaring her Venus. Can I hold a couple of dollars, babe? He that type of dude. And you notice he got a beer belly, which lets you know that like when he comes home from, he probably ain't working or whatever, but if he is working, it's probably on some like artistic project, film stuff. You know, he come home, he the type of man that probably comes home, just wants to turn on the TV, open up his 6-pack and just drink all of them and then just, you know, lay back. He probably smokes weed too, and he probably just gets real faded. And next thing you know, Tina just sitting there looking at him with disgust, talking about, I can't believe I married this motherfucker. So when Tina was looking at him in that interview and it appeared that she was throwing shade, trust me, it's for a good reason. Now, Tina could seriously end up feeling trapped in this marriage, and I think she already does. And all of that Neptune can deal with, where she is at his mercy, but not because he is this dominant individual, because he's this passive aggressive individual that will even get really sick on her, where she has to take care of him, or where at least he's draining her resources because she got to hire this nurse to be round the clock and stuff. And mind you, he's 7 years older than her, which means that his health most likely will deteriorate before hers. So he could also humiliate her as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's done this already, like say stupid stuff in front of her friends and family, or show up to a party or somewhere drunk as shit. Now, I'm not totally blaming Richard in all this, because it looks like Tina could be a straight up bitch too. And that's why she ended up getting with Richard, because she knew that she could wear the pants. Her being a Capricorn, birth number 4, she got to wear the pants. So she knew that she could wear the pants in this marriage because he's a weak man. He's a weak, passive aggressive, needy man that whines and cries, and he does feel like he should be looked upon as perfect, being that Pisces individual, being a 7. He thinks he's blameless regardless of what he does or does not do. And I would think that, you know, the sex probably ain't that great either. Now, they do have Mars try Mars, but that could deal with, you know, they have similar desires, similar motivations, similar drives, similar modes of operation. And that was good to get them in the door. But all it is right here, I can't see this working long term. I can't see her being happy with his Neptune hitting up all her her personal planets like that. Hell no. And then Pluto is squaring her Mars, which means that he could trigger her to be very abusive towards him just by his mere presence and just the way like he operates when he is is in a relationship with someone, especially in terms of joint finances. So this is basically showing that she could end up like really, she probably wants to beat his face in at times when he runs up a credit card or spends all this money and all this type of stuff. So this could actually lead to physical abuse, mainly with Tina Knowles wanting to go upside his head because he's triggering that angry response within her. Now, they got some crazy aspects, and oh, this is another thing that's interesting. Richard's Chiron is conjoined to Tina's Mars, so they could have some freaky deaky sex going on, or perhaps there is no sex going on because they have some type of understanding. Also, his Chiron is conjoined to her Saturn as well. Now, let me show you where her Mars and Saturn are. Right here. So his Chiron is right in between. Remember I said his Chiron is at the 8th degree. Remember I said his Chiron is at the 8th degree of Scorpio, and it's right in between Saturn and Mars. So I'm like, what kind of freak sex do they have? It could be where she's penetrating him. I would not be surprised, y'all, especially because he got Venus in Aquarius, meaning he can be a straight up freak. That could be part of the deal too. Like, you know how I like it, baby. So, or she might even allow him to have sexual trysts with men, maybe. I don't I'm gonna just say there's some freaky stuff going on. Or maybe they're into sex magic, sex parties, something. And like I said, Tina Knowles is working with some high level magic, it seems like. So, oh, and this can also deal with some type of, business deals they got going on that's maybe not totally above board. That's kind of under the table, if you understand what I'm saying. But they got some type of understanding, which is why they are in this marriage. So you can also look at this Neptune influence as perhaps, there's something that is not pure about their marriage. Like they got some type of agreement so that he could continue to be who he is undercover. And she can basically have that man in her life to basically, but I can't really see him being that much of a benefit towards her. Well, he probably does things around the house and stuff like that. That's what I'm thinking. But and there probably was this mutual attraction in the beginning because her Mars is in trine to his sun. They got sun sextile sun, Uranus trine sun. That's that friendship thing they had because they have been friends for years. So, but like I was saying, I really don't see any benefit that Tina is gaining out of this. So his Pluto is also squaring her Saturn as well. So this isn't good for business. This means that he could basically bankrupt her if she's not careful. But because she got all that strong Capricorn energy, she's liable to jump ship before he gets that far with her business. So she really needs to not allow him to have anything to do with like the management or the businesses that they run. And he could seriously tarnish her reputation as well. Like say like they don't work out, he could end up like exposing her and like just dragging her name through the mud and all types of stuff, talking about she was a wicked woman. And him being a Pisces, I wouldn't be surprised if he did that because they like to play the victim role. The dark sided ones, they like to play the victim role to the hilt. But I'm not going to get all, like I said, I'm not going to get all deep. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention. Oh, look at all this red. Square, 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 Sesame Square. That's her Jupiter and Gemini square his personal planets. And that deals with those interviews where he feels like he can't even get a word in edgewise, or he's afraid to say certain things because she'll talk over him and she'll basically even out him regarding certain things. Like she might even talk about, yeah, he drinks a bit too much or whatever like that. He sleeps a bit too much. He goes to bed too early when I'm ready to go out and stuff like that, telling some of his personal business, exposing some of his secrets, because this is that Pisces stellium that this Jupiter and Gemini is squaring. So I'm not going to get fully into the synastry, but y'all get the gist of it. Y'all get it. Basically, again, it's like she's in this marriage by herself because he just checks out. He's passive. He lacks accountability. And I think he got like drinking problems and maybe even some drug problems where, he's not even fully there. And like I said, the thing with his sexuality as well. So let me know what you think in the comments section. And if you would like a reading, you could go to my website at rabina.com. And again, I am holding a workshop. It's an encore presentation of the Real Talk Transits, what the Cancer North Node has in store for you. So the North Node will enter Cancer on November 15th, and it's going to affect everyone. So if you would like some insight into how the Cancer North Node is going to affect you, I strongly recommend that you take this workshop. Just click the link. I'm leaving it in the description section, and it's going to be a blast like all my workshops are. So peace and many blessings, and I'll be back with more videos. Let me just stop share, close this out. And I'm out.